If you're 58, exhausted from work, and you actually have the savings, this video is for you. Because most people in your position are sitting on enough to stop. They just don't know it yet. Here's what nobody tells you. The plan that keeps you working isn't protecting you. It's actually costing you. Every year you stay isn't safe. It's a year of your best retirement health you don't get back. The real threat isn't running out of money. It's leaving too late and spending your go-go years at a desk. I'm going to show you the exact 3-condition framework I walk clients through when they're 58 and thinking about the exit door. A real checklist you can apply to your own numbers tonight. And if all 3 conditions are clear, you may already be able to stop working right now. So let me introduce you to David. David is 58. He's been in operations management for 26 years. He told me something in our first meeting that I constantly hear from people his age. I feel like I'm trading my good years for a number that's already big enough. And David is $1.4 million saved, $1.1 million in a pre-tax 401k, $300,000 split between a Roth IRA and a taxable brokerage account. He figures he would be comfortable spending around $8,000 a month before taxes. His Social Security benefit at 67 is projected to be $2,800 a month. Here's the structural problem. There is a gap between the day you stop working and the day Social Security income starts. For David, that's 4 years if he claims at 62, or 9 if he waits until 67. That entire gap gets funded from the portfolio. This is the portfolio income condition. Can the portfolio produce a reliable income monthly floor before Social Security kicks in? David wants to spend around that $96,000 a year pre-tax. On a $1.4 million portfolio, that's a 6.86% withdrawal rate in year 1. That sounds high, but only if you're thinking about his portfolio and not all of his income sources. Remember, David is 4 years from Social Security at 62. The heavy lifting on the portfolio is temporary. If he claims at 62, his benefit is approximately $1,960 a month, roughly 30% less than his age 67 amount due to early claiming reductions. His portfolio then only needs to cover $6,040 a month, or $72,500 a year. That's closer to a 5% withdrawal rate on his portfolio, which is manageable with the right structure. In fact, this plan actually has him with a high probability of success, as you can see here. But here's the part most videos skip. The pre-Social Security window is the highest stress zone for the portfolio. If the market and his portfolio drops even 15% in his first year in retirement, David is selling shares at a depressed price to fund living expenses. Fewer shares available to recover when markets bounce. That's the sequence of returns risk, and it's the specific threat that kills early retirement plans. In fact, you see David's probability get cut in half on this one thing alone. Research consistently shows that the withdrawal rate in the first decade is the single most consequential variable in portfolio survival. So David's income floor condition is met with 2 requirements. The first is a cash buffer of 1 to 2 years of expenses. That's $100,000 to $160,000 in cash or short-term bonds. If the markets drop, he draws from that buffer. The portfolio gets time to recover without being forced to sell at a loss, and it gives him a little bit more time to think about his strategy. He also can build a bond ladder inside his diversified portfolio to give himself even more breathing room. The other thing I tell clients that are about to retire now is this. We've had a massive run-up in stocks in the past few years. Take some of those gains, put it into safer bonds, still yielding a decent return, and lock in your vacations for the next few years. Keep the probability of your best early retirement fun experiences at 100%. Number 2 is a dynamic spending guardrail. If the portfolio hits a predefined trigger, he takes a 10% spending reduction, at least until the markets have had a chance to recover. That's planned, not catastrophic. The difference between a managed adjustment and a crisis is whether you built it in advance. This is the section that stops more 58-year-old retirements than anything else, not the portfolio, healthcare. The landscape changed significantly in 2026. The enhanced ACA subsidies that had been in place since 2021 expired on January 1st. Congress did not extend them. That subsidy cliff, where you can lose your entire premium tax credit if you earn $1 over the threshold, is back in full force. For a couple, the 2026 cliff sits at 400% of the 2025 federal poverty level. The 2025 federal poverty level for a 2-person household is $21,150. 400% of that is $84,600. $1 over that, and you can lose everything. For a couple in their late 50s, that loss can run $10,000 to $25,000 a year in premium tax credits, depending on location. David is single. His cliff is $62,600, which is 400% of the single person 2025% FPL of $15,650. Here's the opportunity. When David stops working, he has no W-2 income. His taxable income is entirely within his control. Pre-tax 401k withdrawals count as ordinary income and flow into MAGI, which is his modified adjusted gross income. Roth IRA distributions are invisible to the ACA calculation. Brokerage withdrawals only generate income on the dividends and realized gain portion. He can engineer his MAGI. In year one, he uses his taxable portfolio to bridge the gap to his IRA. That's his main play before he turns 59 and a half. His income will be relatively low that year and well under the subsidy. But he does need to be careful once he can start withdrawing from his retirement accounts. Each dollar out of his pre-tax retirement accounts counts toward the modified adjusted gross income number that can push him over the cliff. But he can control that by meeting his spending needs through his taxable account and Roth IRA. Here's what that can look like as an example. He draws $3,500 a month from each of his 401k and his taxable portfolio, which is $84,000 that year, with roughly $15,000 in realized gains and dividends. Just a reminder, when you are taking from your taxable account, both income and capital gains count toward MAGI, but not your basis, which is the money you put into your positions. So far, his MAGI is approximately $57,000, which is below that $62,600 cliff. So he qualifies for subsidies right now. But remember, so far, David has only taken out $84,000, but he told us he needed $96,000. So he is short $1,000 a month. So here he can choose to take $1,000 out of his Roth IRA, which does not count toward MAGI. This gives him plenty of air cover in case there are any surprises of income that go toward MAGI that year. At that income level, a 58-year-old single male on a silver plan roughly has $400 to $700 a month after subsidy versus $1,000 to $1,500 unsubsidized. Over 7 years to Medicare, that can easily be over $50,000 in premium saved. One trap to name out explicitly. Roth conversions count as income in the year the conversions took place, if he decided to go that route. A rule of thumb is convert close to the cliff, not past it. But I believe he will have plenty of opportunity to convert in the future after Medicare opens up to him and he doesn't have to worry about subsidies. And that's even if it makes sense for him to do it at all. I believe subsidies are worth more than Roth conversions for most people. The first two conditions solve that short game, but this one asks, does the portfolio survive the full 30 years? David is 58. Planning the 88 is reasonable. $1.4 million does need to work for a long time. Before Social Security, he draws $96,000 a year. Assuming Social Security is 62 at $1,960 a month, his annual portfolio drops to $72,500. That means that his higher early withdrawal rate of 6.5% goes down to a more reasonable 5% during that time. I think for many people, the big question is, do you delay and keep your portfolio withdrawals higher for longer, or do you take Social Security so you can cut back into a more reasonable withdrawal rate? And the question depends on the size of the portfolio and how you view the markets. Large multi-million-dollar portfolios might use the golden window to convert more money to Roth IRA while they live on taxable dollars, so they are strategic about delaying. But for someone like David, who is right at that $1.4 million mark, he doesn't really have that luxury. But let's go a little deeper here, because this is where the decision can get emotional. A lot of people choose to take Social Security early because they want to withdraw less from their portfolio. The thinking is simple. If I take Social Security now, I can leave more of my investments alone and give them more time to recover and grow. And honestly, I understand that, because when retirement feels like a coin flip, like we saw with an early market downturn, and there's real fear out of running out of money, some people would rather they get the guarantee check earlier than rely on government to pay them a slightly higher benefit later. It may not always be the mathematically perfect answer, but it feels safer in those early years when you actually want to use your money. There's no universally correct Social Security timing. For someone in good health, delaying produces better lifetime income. For someone with health issues, claiming earlier to protect healthy years matters more. The portfolio math is close in either direction. The non-financial factors deserve some equal weight here as well. But this is where giving yourself a spending bond ladder in your portfolio really makes sense, and what David did. He wanted his core early years of retirement expenditures taken care of if there was a bear market, and he knew where his money would come from. And at least in this environment, he can lock in a yield for that. So David walked into my office thinking he needed 3 or 4 more years. He had the savings, he just didn't have the framework to see what the savings could do. So here's a simple checklist for your own numbers. First, divide your annual spending by your total portfolio. If that number is below 7% for the gap years before Social Security, the income floor condition is likely met for the average person. Build the cash buffer. Figure out where your areas of cutting would be if you did run into market correction in your first years of retirement. Second, estimate your MAGI in retirement so you can qualify for healthcare subsidies. Third, check your withdrawal rate after Social Security starts. Below 5 to 6% on a balanced portfolio within 20 years remaining, the survival condition is likely met. Above that, adjust the Social Security timing or spending before you go. If all 3 of these conditions are met, you're likely in a great spot. If you want to run these 3 conditions against your own numbers with a financial planner, the link in the description is where to start. And if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video.